Hello everyone, Lynn here. It's been quite a while since I made a video, but I'm going to start making a ramp mold for King of the Arcade, and I'm going to record all of it. There have been a bunch of videos on YouTube about making these kind of ramp molds, but none that really show the entire process. They show kind of cuts here, cuts there. This is going to show the entire process, no matter how long or boring it may be. I'll cut some of the drying time because it might take about 20 minutes for some of this bondo here to dry. But other than that, I'm going to show the whole thing. So the first thing I got to do, well, first thing that you can see actually is I made this ramp mold. This is actually the same ramp that we used in the table itself in those other videos. I just took it off of the table. I taped it onto this table. And I made things a little more solid than they were on the actual game. So I can put a thin layer of bondo around the edges and the bottom to make a hard outer shell, and then I'll take some layers of bondo to put on the inside before flipping it around and figuring out the best way to mount it on a platter, so to speak. Because the vacuum forming process is going to be a reverse vacuum forming on the bottom here rather than the top. But first I need to put all the bondo in, make a nice solid form, flip it around, and then you'll see. You'll see what's going to go on. I need a mixer, which I think is in here. One of these things, unless I moved it. I seem to have moved it. Yeah, I seem to. Oh, I know where I put it. I know where I put it. Alright. So I've got these paint spackles that I'm going to use to mix up the bondo in the cap right here. And I'm going to start with some small mixtures just to kind of get around before I start filling in. Bondo cures very quickly in, from what I understand, about 3 minutes. I haven't actually used bondo, so this will be an experience for me as well. But from what I understand, it cures within about 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, depending on how much of this hardener cream that you put in. So I'm not going to put a lot of hardener cream in, so I have a little more pliability time. But this should be interesting. I'm going to put small doses, probably a little bit on one wall, mix some more, a little bit on another wall, so on and so forth. It will take a little bit of time, but I'm going to record the whole thing. So, first step is to open this guy, which this can't do. But this thing over here can. This can. Alright. Bondo. Whew. It stinks. Whew. Alright, I'm going to take a little bit of this bondo. About this much. Put it in there. Yeah. Cover this thing back up because this stuff really smells bad. Alright. Now I'm going to take a little bit of this hardener, and I'm going to need to mix this so it's slightly pink. From what I understand, and again, I've never done this, so this is an experience. I take some of this hardener, and I squeeze a small line, like yay, and start kneading it. Oh, jeez. Come on. No. So I'm going to knead it until it's all a relatively consistent color. Pinkish color. Or something like that, I suppose. Alright. So that's kind of a consistent color there, right? It's kind of a slightly reddish pinkish color. So then I'm going to take some of this and start spreading it in here in the mold. And I gotta work somewhat quickly. This is going to start hardening now. It's going to be a multi-step process to get this going. And once I had the basic mold with a thin wall going, and I take the paper off, which actually isn't going to be for a while, I'm going to have to fill in lots of little holes, because this is not going to be even immediately. Alright, now I'm going to need to get some more. I need to mix up some more bondo, because I'm already out. Okay, that didn't last long, did it? Yeah, it didn't last long. Get as much of this as I can up along here. Yeah, it's going to take a decent amount of cleanup eventually. Yeah, that's alright. Alright, so that little bit of bondo that I did just kind of filled up this area slightly. There's still plenty of gaps. And I'm going to have to repeat that process again, probably a second layer there soon. But I'm going to continue down. I'm going to try to get as much of this ramp as I can first before I do a second layer. Then after I get the second layer, I'm going to let the whole thing cure, which is going to take about half an hour. So let's work on the next batch. Boy, oh boy, does this stuff stink. Anyways, I'm going to need to clean this out a bit so I don't get weird hardened bits in the next section. I'm going to use some naphtha and paper towels. I also need a drink. Alright. let's see. Clean this thing off. Yeah, it's already beginning to harden. Just on the brush. And in here. That's pretty cool. I like this stuff. I need a trash barrel. Alright. I'm going to be going through a lot of those paper towels while I clean this. Yeah, that cleans this quite nicely. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that made short work of that. Got a little more to get out. That was the first pass after naphtha. Just a little bit of naphtha. That really pulled all that stuff out. And again, I want this to be fairly clean because I don't want all these little bits on these outer walls. The inner walls I don't really care about. Or the intersection, because that's just a lot of fill anyways. But these outer sections I do care about. Not that it's not going to take a lot of work to clean everything up. Alright, that's good enough. Just one more quick little wipe to get rid of the residue, because I don't want naphtha to screw with the next batch. Alright. Alright, that's pretty clean. Time for batch number 2. Good Lord, this is stinky. I'll grab more this time. Whoops. Okay. It's quite a bit more. But now that I understand how this works, I'm more comfortable with it. And I dropped a bunch on the floor. I don't want to step in that. Okay. Now for the hardener. Again, hardener, strip right down the middle. And I'm going to mix. Damn. Really don't want to get this on my hands. Apparently it's very hard to get off your hands. And I'm looking for a consistent color on this. Or at least a mostly consistent color. As long as there's some hardener in this bondo, even a little bit, then it will cure. but if you get a consistent color, then it'll cure more evenly. Okay. Now to spread it out along here. All down along in here. Paper isn't exactly the best tool for a mold, nor is tape, but that's what I had. And it will be good enough. A lot of the paper is going to stick onto this when I'm done, and a lot of the tape is going to stick onto this. But I'm going to need to do lots of sanding anyways to really get this ramp tooling pullable anyways. So by the time I'm done with all of that, most of the tape residue and paper residue will be sanded off. So I'm not really too concerned about that. Alright, I'm going to take a little bit of this extra. I know I need to dump some in here. Take a little bit of this extra. And I know I need to dump some up here. Dump some over here in this crevice. Go in the crevice. It's quite humid today, so I'm sweating. Don't mind me. Let's see, there's more crevices I want to get up here. Alright, that actually mixed and worked really well in that lower part of the ramp. Down over here. So it worked out really well. Alright, now this is already beginning to cure, so I really shouldn't use this because it's getting less pliable. Alright, so I got all the way down this section with that amount. Next, and I filled in a few more areas up here with some spares. So next, I'm going to work on this section with the next batch. I'll make about the same. At which point, afterwards, I'll make a few more batches and fill in the gaps. I'll add a second layer to the whole thing. I'll make it nice and thick. And then I'll start working along the top section. Because down here, along here, and all along up here, and this piece is very important to have that correct and to the right mold design. I'm going to have things going across here. I'm going to have things sitting on top of here. I'll have probably switches or something along here. And we want to make sure we have that ability. Now, one thing you may notice while I wait for some of this to cure a little bit, one thing you may notice with this particular form, this particular layout, this right here is actually an undercut, which is a no-no when it comes to vacuum forming or thermoforming of any kind, because undercuts you typically can't get the mold out. However, this particular undercut I think is going to be okay. I have a gut feeling it's going to be fine because it's in one little spot and the rest of this should be able to peel off pretty easily. So I should be able to manipulate the piece of plastic to get away from this undercut. I could be wrong. I won't know until I actually do the first pull. But if I can get a clean pull, then great. If I can always make a second mold from the pull itself, which I'd probably do anyway, so I can do like 2 or 3 ramps at a time with one pull. The former I'm working on building right now is actually capable of doing 2 feet by 4 feet approximately worth of forming. So if I can fill that up with a bunch of the same ramp, then I can get 3 or 4 of the same ramp in one pull and not waste plastic, or a whole series of ramps. Anyways, I'm going to clean this up now, just like I did previously, so I can then put more of this stinky shit in here and continue on this other section. And just like last time, it's going to involve a decent amount of naphtha, which I'm actually running out of, and I'm going to have to buy more tomorrow. This process is probably going to use up the rest of my naphtha, and I don't have any other kind of thinner around here, which is unfortunate. And in retrospect, using this probably wasn't a good idea because it has all of this crevice that I need to clean up. Using a larger piece of plexiglass would have been easier to just wipe off clean. Now I do have goop off, so goop off may also work to clean these things out. But man, naphtha that works amazing. It really is a pinball guy's best friend when it comes to cleaning things. Other than the Novus, of course. Alright, that's almost clean. One more little wipe down should probably do it. I'm getting it all over my hands. Yay, hands. Alright. Alright, so some of you may be wondering why I'm trying to clean this so thoroughly when I said that I was going to be putting lots of layers and sanding anyways. It's not like I'm doing a very fine, detailed automotive work. It's just to get into a habit, I suppose. I probably don't need to do it like this. And in fact, as time goes on, I'll probably get lazier and lazier. Because right now it's like 10 o'clock at night. And I do need to be up early, but I still want to get this done. So anyways, this is clean enough. I'm going to do the next big globs and work on this section of the ramp. Yeah, do this in a ventilated area if you guys ever plan on doing this. This stuff smells bad. I do have a window right over that way, but it's behind a pinball machine and it's not easy to open up. So yeah, I definitely recommend being either outside or near an area that you can open a window and get a fan blowing. I might even just open the garage door soon just to get some fresh air in here. Alright, there's that, and then there's this. It's like you're putting ketchup on a hot dog. Hey, ketchup. Hot dog. I wouldn't eat this though. Not in any stretch of the imagination. I think I need a little more. It's a bigger glob than I did previously. There. Trying to not only get it to a consistent color in this cap, but I'm also trying to keep it a fairly consistent color in the mold itself. So just looking at the color that I had a second ago versus the color that's currently in the ramp mold, it wasn't correct. There were some discrepancies, so that's why I added a little bit more hardener. Alright. Alright. Now this section. All up and around in here. Glob, glob, glob. Glob it on in. Oh wow, that dripped more than I wanted it to. Oh well. Won't be a big deal. This is spreading out too much. I'm going to take some of this, sprinkle it in along here, just for fun. Some of this. This does need to go up in here because this section right here connects in a kind of a weird way. That's okay. It's a happy little ramp. It'll be our little secret. Shh. That little connection. This little connection right here will be our little secret. Alright, and I need... Oh, this is hardening. Yay. I need to glob down in here. Yeah, that's already hardening. Alright. I think that's all she wrote with this. Well, that hardens quick. Alright. Yeah, it's definitely going to need another layer. Look at all that splatter there. So I can clean some of that up before it gets too solidified. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Alright. And this over in here, I don't really want, per se. Right in there, I don't want. Alright. Whew. Alright, the first coat is basically on the ramp. So the next coat is going to be largely filler. I do need to fill in here a little bit more, because that's really light, and I can see some of the paper on the bottom. But I'm pretty happy with this so far. So next, the next batch I do, it's going to be to cover up here, cover this, and cover along here, this section a little bit. I'm going to need somehow somehow. You need to put tape along there somehow, or some such, just to add a little bit of a flange. I can figure that out later. So up here, 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 and here, and then, you know, a little more right in there, and I see a little bit of blue right in there as well, so I'm going to want to take care of that. Alright, time to clean. So, it's been about half an hour, and there was not a lot of progress, but hey, I got this much done, and hopefully all of you are seeing what it's actually like to do this, so you can plan ahead, if you ever plan on making this kind of thing. And this is a more complex ramp than others. It's not like just a straightaway. If it was a straight ramp, then you really could just use a piece of wood for that. And for instance, this right here, this piece of wood, this is a subway for one of the games I was working on, and it's just a couple layers of 3/4 inch wood, so it's about 1.5 inches deep. And again, it's a subway. It has it goes kind of like this. It has a ball lock here and another path here to a kick out. But if you're doing a flat ramp, you don't need to really go through this route. This ramp is a very interesting contour and a very complex one, so bondo is the way to go. Trying to make this out of wood is going to be a son of a bitch. Alright. Clean this a little bit more. And then clean this. Mostly clean, just a little bit more to go. Then I'll work on batch, what is it, 4? Yeah, I think it's batch 4. Alright. Time for batch 4. Hold your noses, everybody. There should be all that I need of that. Alright. It's all going along the top here. Stay up there. And you're also going down here. And over here. And over here. And I'm obviously going to need to make another batch of this. There's lots of holes in here. Didn't finish this up in any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, it's a big hole right there. And this is beginning to cure, so that's all she wrote of this. Yeah, it's not sticking anymore. It's curing. Okay. Alright, so I got some of that, a little bit up there, and a little bit of that. Still need a few more batches to get this going. I'm not going to do this section here. When I flip it upside down, then I'll get along in there. And I think that's also what I'm going to do with this and this. I think that'll be easier, because I'll be building up from the bottom when it's upside down rather than top down. Yes, alright, so the next batch, I'll finish this section right here. I'll glob a couple more stuff on top here, finish this, but then everything after that is going to be some filler inside of this thing. because I want to get a good 1/2 inch wall around this, because this up here is getting good. But I definitely want to glob a whole lot in there. So soon I'm going to take those entire mixtures that I have. I'm just going to put it in one little section. I was going to call it a quadrant. It's not really a quadrant, but I'm going to put in section here, section there, and just really push it in and get it in there. And so this whole thing gets a really nice thick wall. Then when I'm done with that, I'll pull everything off, and hopefully, knock on wood, it won't crumble away. Because I'm hoping that I would have made my bondo correctly, and it'll harden well. And I'll wait a good 1/2 hour to 45 minutes, if not all night, for it to harden. Sorry. Excuse me. If not all night for it to harden, because I want to make sure that this does not crumble. My biggest worry is that this whole thing crumbles. I don't think it will. By the time I get all those things filled and give it 1/2 hour, it'll be probably close to midnight, about an hour and a half from now, and it should be pretty solid. Anyways, got to clean this off and start the next batch. Excuse me. I'm going to take some pictures along the way too, so I can post to the forums and just keep as a record for myself. Pulling that stuff off without naphtha is a pain in the butt. I'm not looking forward to it because I'm almost out. Ooh, that's nice and warm. That's nice and warm. Yeah, wow. I just tried cleaning it without naphtha, and then with naphtha, it's no contest. Make sure you have either naphtha or some other similar mineral spirits or thinning product. because that makes this stuff come off of plastic easy. And I'm sure I'm just repeating what a lot of you already know if you already have used this before. This is my first time, and I think I'm doing pretty okay. But it's a learning process, and I'm just surprised about certain things I'm finding out.